Good morning and welcome to a new edition of Karmayogi Talks. The purpose is to introduce the government civil servants to a wide range of topics. And today's topic and speaker is a very interesting one because we've all talked about data and how data shapes many decisions of the government and how it gives a very good idea of what is happening in the country and not. And who better to talk to than Dr. Saurabh Garg, who is the Secretary of Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, generally known as MoSPI. Before that, he was Secretary, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. And before that, he was Chief Executive of Unique Identification Authority of India, which we, of course, all know as Aadhaar. Before that, he was at Ministry of Finance, where he played a key role in direct benefit transfer programs and foreign direct investment. And he's been in agriculture, urban development, and industries. He's from the Odisha cadre, and he was also working as an advisor in the World Bank in DC. Dr. Garg holds a PhD from Johns Hopkins, an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and a BTech from IIT Delhi. So both from his education and the incredible work experience he's had, he is uniquely qualified to talk about this issue of data and how data shapes many things that we are doing and what the Indian government and India is doing to improve the quality of data and to make it available and to use it. So with that as background, welcome, Dr. Saurabh, or Saurabh, if I can call you.
Absolutely. And thank you for inviting me. Pleasure to be here.
I wanted to start out with just give people an idea of what are some of the most critical data sets that are generated or maintained by the government of India that are fundamental to shaping policy.
So if you look at it at a very broad level, each of the ministries generates a large number of data sets, which are used primarily for monitoring or for checking what's the performance of different programs. In the Ministry of Statistics, we focus on the macroeconomic indicators. And primary among them is, of course, preparing the estimates of the GDP, the gross domestic product, which helps us to prepare the national income, the consumption, the savings, the investment at the macroeconomic at the country level. So that's one primary data set. The second is on the labor market dynamics. We prepare and bring out a monthly labor force survey, a periodic labor force survey, which assesses the employment and unemployment status, what is the level of participation, both in the formal and the informal sector. And that helps a number of ministries and departments to draw programs in that. A third is what we base it on is the household consumption expenditure survey, which is to get an idea of the economic status of the households. It helps to design social welfare programs and also target programs which are meant for the poor. Another important one is the consumer price index, commonly known as the retail inflation, which gives an idea of the cost of living of people and also provides a basis for providing benefits, adjusting the benefits to people, which also is used in the monetary policy formulation. Like this, there are others like the industrial statistics based on the annual survey of industries, and also for the Sustainable Development Goals, the National Indicator Framework. So these are some of the major ones. And apart from that, a number of specific demand-based, request-based indicators we bring out. But the focus is on macroeconomy and giving an overall idea of where the country is headed in the socio-economic parameters.
Saurabh, you'll also the agency responsible for the census, right? The one that's done every 10 years, which is a huge effort.
No, the population census is one which is handled by the Registrar General of India. So they do the population census. We do other census. For example, we do an economic census, which gives an idea of the level of economic activities in the country, the level of what is the progress in terms of entrepreneurship level, the number of uh, enterprises or activities going on in the unincorporated sector as well as the formal enterprise sector. But the population census is not done by us.
And Saurabh, when you collect all of this data, is this data something that is very private for the government? Is it shared across government? Is it available to people? How do people use this across the ministries?
Yeah. So in fact, the focus of our ministry is to ensure that the data that we produce gets utilized for policy making, for decision making. In fact, the tagline of our ministry is data for development. And that really defines whatever we do. So in terms of data dissemination, that's a very, very important part of our activities. Each of the data sets that I mentioned earlier, whether it's the inflation, whether it's the GDP, whether it's the industrial statistics, each of them are placed in the public domain through our website. And that is something we do regularly. We bring out regular press releases summarizing the data sets and bringing out the highlights of that data set, and which are placed by the Press Information Bureau, public domain. We've improved our website and it's now branded as e-Sankhya, where all the data sets which we bring out regularly on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis, they are placed on the website, as well as all the back series, going back up to some of them up to 70 years since
My
1950.
goodness.
Yes, and which can be downloaded by in a machine readable format, in a database format. They can do visualizations on the website and create graphs, pie charts, whatever they want. And not only that, we do a regular data user conferences where we interact with different institutions, research institutions, research bodies, journalists, economic forecasters, and we discuss the methodologies that are used for bringing out the data so that they have a better sense of what and how the data is produced, and they have a better appreciation. So our focus is how to ensure that people can use this data more effectively for decision making.
And over the years, Saurabh, what have you all done to make the data more accessible? I'll come to how things have changed, but can a student use it? Is it in a very easy to use format? Have you all changed that so that everyone can use it very easily? What have you all done to make that easier?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, number one, we've made our website so much more intuitive and so much more user friendly, so that students can access it very easily. Apart from that, we've also developed a national metadata standards so that data across ministries follows a uniform pattern, so that if anyone wants to access a government data, not only from the Ministry of Statistics website, but from others, they can ensure that it would be usable and interoperable and comparable across ministries. Also, we've looked at the international standards, and each sector has an international body and they bring out their standards and their classifications. So we have encouraged other ministries also to look at these international classifications and standards so that comparability across countries is also possible. So that's another area of focus that we do. Apart from that, as I mentioned, we, even within the government and with outsiders, with research institutions, we do user conferences. And you mentioned about students. We recently started a separate tab on our website focusing only for students and having material placed out there which is in much simpler forms without any jargon, and with students I'm sure will find useful to use it. And in case they have any feedback, we'll be very happy to get feedback. We have a feedback button on our website. So in case they feel that there is some visualization which is required or something else, we'd be very happy to ensure that that's incorporated.
Saurabh, would you care to guess how many people use your data?
Uh, we assume millions uh, because I think a lot of in the research institutions, I'm sure a lot of PhDs get done on our data. And we keep getting queries and questions from students who are doing especially higher studies, masters, PhDs, who use this data. But more importantly, I think industry uses this data because it gives a good analysis or a foresight into what's going to happen. Economic forecasters base their projections primarily on our data. Credit rating agencies across the globe who are focused on India use our data, and especially on the as I mentioned, financial side, financial institutions, investment houses, all of them use this data to get a sense of where the economy is moving forward, and what needs to be done, which are the areas where there are certain gap areas which need to be filled in. I think this data is extensively used in academics and industry and the government.
Now, that's very good to know that it is accessible to a very large number of people and that they use it. A lot of people want to know, in terms of the quality of the data.
Yeah.
If you look across the world, how would you rate, the quality and the timeliness of the data that India produces?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. So I think number one, I must mention out here that in 1950, when we started the national sample surveys under the guidance of Professor P.C. Mahalanobis, we were among the first countries to start this survey. And in fact, the survey methodology, which was developed in India by the then group of statisticians and economists, is what is now followed globally. So we have a very rich legacy, and we are very conscious of that, and to ensure that the accuracy, the relevance, and the robustness of the data, we maintain that standard. Even now, I would say that in terms of timeliness, we now bring out data within 90 days completion of a survey. We bring out inflation data within 12 days of the end of the month, which is among the fastest in the globally. We bring out our industrial index on the 28th of every month within 28 days of the end of the month. The GDP figures we bring out within a period of about 4 months after the end of the year, get the first provisional estimates out. So I think each of the data sets that we bring out, we keep in view that if it becomes too dated, the usefulness of that data gets lost. At the same time, we ensure that the what is technically termed as the standard error, what is that we ensure that the confidence levels in that data are high, so that the credibility of that data remains. In fact, we've just brought out another quality assessment framework so that different data generating companies, departments can assess their own data and see how well they are doing and ensure that the data quality remains very high.
I just wanted to ask you about the timeliness part, right? Which is, there's a point in time when you collect the data, and then it used to take a long time to get it out, and now you're getting it out very quickly. Do you
Yes.
see things moving where everything is, in a sense, people are doing many things online and instantaneous? And what is MoSPI doing to get into that direction? And using those technologies where there are, I guess, I shouldn't say it, you'll say it correctly, which is, high frequency indicators or instantaneous indicators of what is happening.
Yeah. So I think incorporation of technology is a major activity within the ministry. We are technology. We are looking at different levels. For example, now we don't do any paper-based survey. All of them are computer assisted through tablets. So that means that the data that is collected, whether from a household, from a shop about prices, or from an industrial establishment regarding their production or revenue, that is instantly uploaded onto our platform, internal platform. And this computer-aided CAPI, as it's called, computer-aided personal interview, has its own built-in validation checks so that we can validate on the go the data. So that is something that we've already incorporated. And in fact, the reason why we are now able to reduce the timelines, which, as you correctly mentioned earlier, might encompass maybe 8-9 months or even a year, we are looking at 45-day timelines and 90-day timelines to do that. And that's because both our collection is entirely electronic. The processing that we do is on platforms that we have, internal computerized platforms. And we are also looking at alternate data to get incorporated. For example, geospatial data, mobile data, e-commerce data, so that they get incorporated, and with minimal processing time and ensuring that the validation is done correctly, we move the data out into the public domain. So that's something which are focused, and also using technology for data dissemination, whether it's the website, whether it's the social media. And we use that extensively to bring out short analytical snippets so that people can see how it impacts them in their daily lives.
Can you give one example of the kind of snippets that you bring out that are useful for individuals?
For example, if I look at retail price inflation, we will even bring out state level data that in different states, what is the level of pricing that changes. So people can figure out that in their state or where they live, how it is compared to other places. We can look at GDP data. We look at different sectors, what's been the growth in different sectors. So therefore, an entrepreneur, let us say in manufacturing some machines, they can see what's kind of the growth rates that's happening in their industry and in the industries where they are supplying the machinery, and they can get a sense of how things will move in the future. So that is something, and these snippets, these nuggets, we bring out regularly.
Saurabh, technology, especially data science and AI, right, is something everyone talks about today.
Yeah.
And, given that you are the biggest collector of data and keeper of data, how are you all using AI and data science in what in what you're doing, and how do you see that evolving?
Yeah. So AI is something that we have, in some sense, already started incorporating in our data collection methodologies. I mentioned about the fact that we collect all our data on the basis of tablets. In those tablets, we have added AI chatbots, which, for example, when a enumerator goes to an enterprise to ask them that what is the kind of activity they are doing, and someone might say that they have a tailoring workshop. So looking at which industrial classification code it will come to, that chatbot helps them and bring it out so much more faster, and they can do it. We've added a AI-based chatbot even in our website, so people can use normal natural language queries and get answers back in the natural language. Going forward, we are looking at how AI can help in different aspects, for example, in data processing, looking at outliers, for example, which may not seem to be wrong, so that validation and checks first level can be done by the AI, and AI can throw them up, and then a person can look at to check what is required. One area where I think AI will really be useful, and that is at the moment we are just piloting that, is in predictive analysis. For example, looking at the data of this month or limited sets of data, can we predict next month's inflation, or at least give an idea, give an guidance of what could be there? So predictive areas is one area we have not yet fully ventured, but perhaps going forward we could think of them also.
And Saurabh, just the broader question of, things are moving so fast in technology that, how are you keeping up with it? Have you created, is everybody trained on AI? Have you created cells for AI? Have you got, have you got Sam Altman to tell you how to write code for it? Or what are you doing so that MoSPI remains at the front, in the front on AI?
So absolutely right. This is something which is a moving target, and we need to be abreast to it. Number one is we are a member of a number of international committees which look at this. For example, we are a member of the UN Committee on Big Data. So that gives us an idea of what's happening internationally in this field, and what other countries are doing, especially in the fields related to official data, official statistics. So, and a number of our officers and senior staff attend these meetings and webinars which happen, which are in a way looking at best practices, what is happening. In fact, groups like BRICS, G20 also have subgroups related to this, and we actively participate in that. But that is at one level to ensure that we are at the best in terms of internationally. Domestically, I think we have someone better than Sam Altman, and that is the Capacity Building Commission, which works with us, and we work with them closely to look at what is the training needs. In fact, we've done a training needs assessment with your commission's help to look at what all are the requirements of the different levels of officers, and then have a clear calendar of events, programs, and training schedule, so that different levels of officers attend this on a regular basis. In fact, we have 5 zonal centers in the country where our enumerators and supervisors get trained, and we get good resource people to those centers. And apart from that, a number of webinars we are doing. Some of them are done with the help of you and your colleagues in the Capacity Building Commission, and some we do domestically also, so that people can participate in those webinars. And I think the most important is the IGOT platform, where a large number of programs are available. Internally, what we do is on a monthly basis, we list out a set of programs that they could think of, different officers could think of participating in it. So I think it's a combination of these activities, but since technology is changing, I think we can't rest at any time on this in any case.
Saurabh, I heard there's a rumor that you and all your joint secretaries, additional secretaries, and directors are all now becoming semi-experts in AI. Is that true?
I hope it becomes true. I mean, that's something that we've been working on. In fact, we did an international conference on 4 aspects of technology, AI, geospatial, and how we use it. And I think that's where the real crux lies. While technology exists, it's how to ensure that
Applied.
the technology can be used in the work that we do. And I think that's been our focus, to ensure that it gets used in our day-to-day activities. So if that leads to all the officers becoming experts, so be it.
No, no, that's wonderful. I'm delighted that you all are all taking the lead on it. I was going to ask you, as you look out 5 years from now in this very fast moving thing, where do you see MoSPI? What are the changes? You've already done a lot of change. I'm going to come back to some of the changes you've done. But over the next 5 years, what should we expect out of data analytics and MoSPI?
So I think a few things. Number one, that there is a large amount of administrative data which exists with with the different departments and ministries. And I think we've not leveraged that data enough. And part of the reason being that it's not standardized, not classified in a regular manner. And that is what is one primary thing we are working with different ministries and departments. I think we've made progress, as I mentioned, about the national metadata standards, the quality assessment framework, the assessment tools that we are bringing out, the kind of unique identifiers that there are there. So all these would help to ensure that not only Ministry of Statistics data, but each of the 50 odd ministries that we have, their data is also as accessible and as easily available to researchers, students, as our data. And I think that's going to happen much more. The second thing, which I think is also happening while we speak, is the fact that increasingly everyone is realizing that decision making has to be more data based. So the demand for data, granular data, timely data is increasing. For example, we are moving towards, up till now, we were having national estimates and in some cases, state level estimates. What we are now moving is into district level estimates. So let's say if we have an idea of the district level labor market dynamics, we can fine tune our policies to ensure that they are relevant for that district. And as you mentioned earlier, given the spread of technology, the time gap between collection, processing, and dissemination will continue to fall. And we are already not talking of months or years. We are talking in terms of days and weeks. I think it's maybe 5 years down the road, we'll be talking of not even weeks, only hours and days. So I think a combination of this, and I think it augurs very well for the fact when we talk of Viksit Bharat 2047, that decision making would have to be so much more clearer and targeted, that this will be a necessity, not a luxury.
Oh, I think that's fantastic that you'll make one, that the data will become available across ministries in a way that it can be used, and that it will be more granular and faster. I think the idea of getting data faster is tremendous. Saurabh, I wanted to just go back a little and say, what are the big changes that have happened at MoSPI in the last few years?
So one is a use of technology, which I've already mentioned, so I won't belabor that one. But the fact remains that we are increasingly doing most of our work on platforms and tablets. So that's one change that has happened. The second, which I would like to talk about, is the increasing frequency of some of our data that we were bringing out. For example, on the labor market, we used to bring out quarterly and annual data points. Now we have started bringing out monthly. So on a month-to-month basis, we know what's happening to the employment and unemployment figures, and which will help people to make decisions. In terms of the breadth of the data points that we bring out, that have increased. Earlier, we did not have a regular data on unincorporated sector, which is commonly called unorganized or informal sector area. Now we have an annual survey which we bring out. And from this year, it will become quarterly. We'll be bringing out quarterly information on how the unincorporated sector does, which in fact is a very large sector, both in terms of generating the national income or GDP and the employment. So we'll have granular, increasing frequency of that data. So one, as I mentioned, is time. We are reducing time. We are increasing our breadth by we'll be having now a new survey in the service sector. We did not have an annual service sector data. We are bringing that out from next year. We brought out for the first time a forward-looking capital investment survey, CAPEX, which gives an idea of where industries are planning to invest in the near future. So that increases the breadth of data and the breadth of macroeconomic information that is available. And the third aspect, I would say, is on the granularity. As I mentioned, all our surveys from this year have the ability to bring out district level estimates. And I think we would be starting that hopefully in the near future. It will actually, we are working with the state governments to ensure that as far as possible, wherever we can, we should be able to bring out district level estimates. So in terms of frequency of data, in terms of breadth of data, and in terms of granularity of data, on each of these things, we have been working and we'll continue to work out on what other data gaps. For example, tourism and travel is a very important sector where it's growing. It's very important. We are now doing a survey on that and we'll bring out information on that. It's very important in urban and in rural areas for that matter that there are enough recreation, there are enough parks, there are enough sports facilities. So we are bringing out a survey on what is the common property resources available and where gaps would be there. So we are proactively asking each ministry, tell us where you feel you need to take decisions and you don't have data to back them up. We are the data producers for the country. In fact, I would say we are the largest data generator, perhaps in the globe, given the size of India. And our focus is to ensure that we bring out credible, robust, accurate, timely, and granular data.
Saurabh, I wanted to ask you just a last question on data before I move to your career and what you've done. Is where, at one point, India was leading the world in statistical techniques and things that when things were set up, right? At that time, India set up the Indian Statistical Institute, MoSPI, the Planning Commission, all of that, right? So have you set yourself a timetable that says, by this time, we are going to be the best in the world again?
I would already say that we are comparable to the best, if not the best. And without commenting on where other countries are, I think we have been working internally on a plan. In fact, we had a plan, and we are nearly more than halfway there in that, which had 250 action points, ranging from technology, ranging from capacity building, ranging from institutional changes, looking at data gaps. And on each of these 250 points that we were working on, where I think we've already crossed around 170, we have achieved, and the balance we will do in the next 6 to 8 months, I think sets us in a path that will ensure that we will continue to be leaders in this sector of official statistics and official data. And given the technology depth that we have in the country, we will continue on that. I must add one more thing, that we are also increasing our interactions with the different academic institutions and looking at how to re-engineer, if I can put it, the Indian Statistical Institute, which would soon be celebrating its 100th year, this centenary in 2030. So we've put a target that the ISI, which has been one of the leading institutions globally, would again regain that position in case there has been a slight drop out there. So along with industry, along with academics, and along with the internal changes and use of technology, I think we are well set to ensure that we lead the world in the data sets that we produce.
That's terrific, Saurabh. I wanted to ask you on, just as you mentioned about ISI being part, that's really part of this whole thing. That's terrific that it is going to be, there's a plan to make it preeminent again, as it used to be, even though it continues to be very, very good. I wanted to ask you, periodically there are a lot of controversies about MoSPI and data, right? A few years ago, there was lots of controversy about the GDP data and the base year change. Without going into the details of any such thing, what steps do you take to make sure that the data is independent, valid, it doesn't have any shade assigned to it, and that it is completely believable? What are the steps you all take to ensure that that is the case?
Yeah, and the steps, I would be very happy to talk about it because we are going through another base year change revision now. And we expect by early next year to have the base year revision of the GDP, of the inflation, and the industrial statistics. And I think the base year is a regular feature. It's not only done in India, it's done globally. And the reason for that is that you need to capture the structural changes in the economy that happen. For example, the data side or the software or electronics or IT side may not have been that prominent 15 years back as it is now. The digital economy is expanding. So we need to take care of the structure of the economy. We need to ensure that the latest data sources are getting incorporated. For example, we did not have GST 10 years back, but now we have that. We did not have e-commerce data. We did not have geospatial data, but we have all of that now. So we need to do a re-evaluation and looking at the base year from time to time to not only capture the structure of the economy, but also the new data sources that come up, and also methodologies improve as theoretical knowledge in maths, statistics improves. The way we do our calculations and methodologies, that also change. And all these need to be incorporated. And I think we need to ensure that everyone understands the reasons why we are doing it, what is being done, and to ensure that credibility is there. I think we have an institutional mechanism within the Ministry of Statistics, which is the National Statistical Commission, which is an independent body of experts, chaired and persons who are eminent in their own fields of statistics, mathematics, economics, and computer science. And not only that, for any data set we bring out, we always have a technical advisory group, which consists of academicians of repute, of practitioners who are working not with the government, but with the private sector. And that is something that we run past by them to ensure that this external body of people look at the data, the methodology of collection, the methodology of calculating, and they look at it, and then the Statistical Commission also looks at it, and only then we do it. So there is a robust procedure. There is no scope for any kind of trying to tamper with the data that is there. Because I think all of us realize that the credibility of the data that we bring out is utmost and of utmost importance. And this external mechanism, we ensure that it is in place and that we ensure that it works properly. So that is something that we are constantly, and I think one area where we are continuing to improve is on transparency. And I think, as it said, that sunshine is the best disinfectant. It's to ensure that we do this data user conferences, interactions with our stakeholders, so they understand what is we are doing. We would like them to give suggestions. In fact, we have started bringing out some white papers. We brought out some kind of papers on how, for example, to use PDS, subsidized food products, in our inflation data. And we brought out the paper, we got comments, and we incorporate them in our methodologies. So I think going forward, we will continue to follow this procedure. And I would like to have more and more comments and suggestions coming from informed people, from lay people on what their apprehensions are, and we'll be very happy to address them.
So, Saurabh, what you're saying is that the ministry takes, that the data coming out of the ministry has gone through incredibly rigorous checks, both domestically, both within the ministry and from academics, and I assume
Yes,
internationally also. And that,
yes, absolutely.
the
Some of them
okay,
are. And in fact, our data is used by different international organizations, whether it's the FAO, whether it's the ILO, whether it's the UN system, whether it's the World Bank, whether it's the IMF. And we have regular interactions with their teams of statisticians who come and discuss with them and discuss with us on their apprehensions if they have on the data. So we are very open with them. They know our methodologies, and we've had no reasons of any in the recent past. But as you mentioned, that one area where we are continuing to improve is to ensure that the outreach to our different stakeholders, that continues, because communication is the best way to ensure that doubts, we hear their doubts and we are able to clarify.
Saurabh, that's terrific. I'm sure many people are very happy to know that the data is solid and that they can, that they can believe what they see. There's nothing going on
Absolutely.
behind it. So that's wonderful. And thank you for explaining why base years change, and it's just a normal course of things that happen. I want to switch a little bit to, you've had an amazing career. You've been through, Aadhaar, you've been through direct benefit transfer, rural development. And I wanted to ask you, many times people talk about that it's tough to change things in the government. Things are set in their ways, and yet you've been able to accomplish a lot at MoSPI and obviously in direct benefits transfer. Can you give some guidance on how you were able to do that?
I would like to think that that this work that we are doing in MoSPI is getting recognized, and thank you for saying that. I think one is being clear on what the objectives are. That helps, so that institutionally, organizationally, everyone realizes what's the objectives or what's the goals that we are moving towards. I think it's a cliche which is followed in the private sector, that you have a vision or a mission statement or an objectives kind of or what is called the key result areas, KRAs. And I think given that in government very often there are multiple objectives and the scope of activities are very broad, sometimes we get confused in the objectives to be achieved. So I think it's very important to be able to break it down both within the organization, within the divisions, within the units, so that there is clarity of purpose on what is to be achieved. With a basic value system which focuses on integrity of various kinds, integrity intellectually also, and of course at a materialistic level, obviously that's a given. But I think that integrity of or the basic value structure or the ethical structure of following a basic a path which is where the means are as important as the end. I think that clarity of thought really helps. And many of these programs, it's difficult to bring that objectives structure into it. But I think if one thinks through that and is able to bring it, and then I think along with that, the fact that the impact that in these activities makes on the people, I think very often we get lost in being a cog in the wheel, but every cog helps to make that wheel move, and that what is the broad purpose of each activity or sub-activity or micro activity that we are doing in the larger schemes of things, I think that clarity and that impact, if everyone has, I think everyone realizes that the work that they are doing is so much critical, whether to development, to growth. And without that, if we don't have, uh, we will not be achieved, for example, a Viksit Bharat 2047 that we're talking about. So I think the role of each organizational player and the vision or the activity that they are doing, if it can be broken up into smaller pieces, it helps people to work towards it, and then the pieces come together and the larger objective is met. I don't know. I think I've been too too macro about it, but I don't know if it helps.
No, Saurabh, it helps a lot. You're being very modest because everywhere you've gone, you've been able to make change happen. And so that is helpful for everyone to understand kind of what it took to do that. I wanted to, what is the, over the last few years, what is the one thing that you are really, which excited you the most in the work that you have done?
Uh, I think what I'm doing presently at Ministry of Statistics is really exciting because I think the narrative of the country is built by the data that we produce. So if someone says that India is doing well, a lot of it is based on the GDP figures we bring out, on the inflation numbers we bring out, on the economic status of households brought out by the consumption expenditures, uh, and so on and so forth. But apart from that, I think one extremely fulfilling, if I can put it, has been to ensure that Aadhaar, which was getting too cloistered and getting closeted, and people were afraid to use it. I think to remove the cobwebs around the use of Aadhaar. And I think one of the biggest changes that we were able to introduce was this face authentication, because of which the growth of the authentication ecosystem has become so much easier, because you don't need any other instrument. For example, earlier you needed a fingerprint reader, but given the penetration of smartphones, the smartphone has become the Aadhaar reader. And I think a combination of being able to introduce the face authentication, and that software, I must tell you, is all developed internally within the UIDAI ecosystem, obviously with help from a number of developers from different groups, and many of them work pro bono on it. So I think a combination of having a mechanism which universalizes the ability to authenticate yourself by your own smartphone, ensuring that the restrictions that were being put around the usage of Aadhaar, removing that have been extremely fulfilling.
That's terrific, Saurabh. Great to have the opportunity to do so many interesting things in one career. I wanted to ask you as a closing, a large number of people watch this, including many of people from MoSPI, but also many people from states and many people from all sorts of other civil services, including the police force and others. And so if you had one message to give to all of them from you, what would it be?
I would say that being honest with your own self, and honest I mean in multiple ways, and working towards the organizational objectives. As they say that you have to work in not self-interest, but enlightened self-interest. And I think if you can ensure that what you want to achieve is aligned with the organizational interest, I think that's very, very critical. Be able to ensure that what you are doing is followed by others, or at least recognized by others, and that others are willing to follow you. Because if there is any doubt on intentions, if I can put it that, that defeats anything else that you might want to.
Saurabh, that is terrific advice for people, and I'm sure everyone who's watching wishes you the best in terms of getting MoSPI to the next level and to become the best in the world. Thank you very much for sharing these insights with us, and good luck.
Thank you for having me on your Karmayogi episode. It's a pleasure to be here.